Hello, thank you for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele. The Nigerian diaspora will continue to be an asset to the nation, going by efforts to boost remittances to accelerate investments for the nation. Now, the influence of diaspora remittances cannot be overemphasized as it plays a crucial role in the country's economic trajectory. Remittances have been the largest source of external financial flows to low and middle income countries, and Nigeria is among nations reaping its benefits. Recently, the Central Bank of Nigeria reported that diaspora remittances increased year on year by 130% to $553 million. That was in July this year, when compared with the same period in 2023. I'll take you back. If you recall, in 2023, the personal remittances received in Nigeria decreased roughly by $0.6 billion, that is minus 2.9% since 2022. Now, the incoming personal remittances in Nigeria peaked in 2018 when the figure stood at $24 billion. As a nation with vast potential and endless opportunities for investments, this therefore requires a holistic approach to keep the inflows on a stable increase and utilized effectively. A World Bank report revealed that countries, I'm quoting now, countries need to take note of the size and resilience of remittances and find ways to leverage these flows for poverty reduction, financing health and education, financial inclusion of household, and improving access to capital markets for state and non-state enterprises, end of quote. As Nigeria continues to record inflows, that's the financial inflows of diaspora remittances, it is crucial to explore ways of sustaining this growth. On Platform, our focus is diaspora remittances and investments for economic growth. Our guest is Honorable Abdurrahman Abba Terab. He is the head of Technology, Transfer, Innovation and Investment at the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Thank you very much for joining us, Honorable Terab.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. And just before we introduce our panelists, we'll let you in on who he is, talking about his profile more so you understand where he's coming from. Honorable Terab has diverse background in politics, public service, enterprise development, and education. He is a fellow of the Institute of Management Consultant and a board member at the African Diaspora Research and Resource Center, University of Ibadan. Honorable Terab holds an MSc in Management from College de Paris in France and 2 MBAs in Business Management from the University of Business International in Switzerland and MBA Entrepreneurship from Nasarawa State University. He's currently taking a PhD research on the impact of diaspora capital in housing development in Nigeria. Honorable Terab has served as a member of the Borno State Executive Council, as Commissioner of the Ministry of Poverty Alleviation and Youth Empowerment, that was from 2005 to 2007, Commissioner of the Ministry of Land and Survey, and Commissioner of the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning. He also served as Commissioner of the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs in 2010. In 2011, Honorable Terab was elected as a member of the House of Representatives, representing Bama, Ngala, and Kala Baige Federal Constituency in Borno State. During his tenure, he served on different committees, chairing some of them. Apart from his political career, Honorable Abdurrahman has been involved in several professional and advisory roles. He is a member and head of the Secretariat for the Ad Hoc Committee for the establishment of Nigeria Diaspora Investment Trust Fund. Well done, Honorable.
Thank you very much.
All right, our panelists is one of our business correspondents here in NTA, one of our regulars, if you want to put it that way, Benny Adams. Benny, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have you join us on Platform.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
You're welcome. Honorable Terab, chairing news for Nigeria, going by the CBN report, 130% was seen as remittances for the month of July, which was clearly stated that represents the highest monthly inflow for this year. How did the Commission react to that chairing news?
I think let me say we see it we saw it coming.
Okay.
And that is the message we have been trying to put out there, that the diaspora concept is an economic concept, it's an economic factor. It's beyond just a social factor. And nations now deliberately harness diaspora capital for their own development. So I think we've come a long way as a country, taking into consideration that diaspora as a phenomenon can be harnessed for national development. And one of these aspects of development is diaspora capital, a major part of which is diaspora remittances. And of course, the country as a whole, our monetary and fiscal sectors combined have been pushing, trying a lot of policies to ensure that diaspora remittance inflows are enhanced. And I think this is a cumulative result of what we are seeing, especially with some of the recent policy initiatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
And the Penny?
Okay, like you said, there has been a lot of initiatives, particularly reforms from the central bank to encourage diaspora remittances. I know before this administration, the previous administration brought the Naira for Dollar initiative to encourage more remittances. And then now they're coming on board of the Diaspora Commission. Some might say Nigeria joined the party too late because that's what nations are using to grow their economy. For Nigeria, it's part of recovery processes. 20 billion is no small feat in terms of dollars, more so at a time that Forex is an issue. My question is, here's the Diaspora Commission is doing a lot. We need to get to know what are they actually doing to harness these resources. Most of these transfers come from family to family, households. How can we harness it at a national level?
The entire concept of remittances is P2P, in its basic form.
Okay.
At the international level, the definition of remittances is what is for upkeep. Is what family, friends, and well-wishers send for upkeep back home. Because at the level of the African Institute of Remittances, and of course at some level of the World Bank, they are trying to put a distinction between foreign investments, which could be diaspora investments, and then diaspora remittances. So I think we need to understand that is the concept. The idea is that these remittances are sent back home for normal upkeep. But what we need to appreciate is the fact that as it comes in, it contributes to the country's gross domestic product. What is even more important again is the fact that as these remittances come into the country, except now that we are now putting our kind of a focus on remittances, the normal concept is as if you are exporting something out of your country and you are gaining foreign exchange inflow into your country. So the rider might not actually be specific on what these monies are coming for until, unless you actually dig down to find out that these monies are not actually for purchases of export, but are sent for upkeep of families, friends, and communities. So, but on the whole, it contributes to the nation's economy. The $22 billion that you bring in, yes, if you feel it doesn't go to the government, but okay, let me tell you how the government benefits from it. It goes into some of the major sectors of our economy, principal of which, of course, is feeding, it reduces poverty. Families and friends who benefit from such remittances are able to, are able to buy foodstuffs and keep the family economy going. Another aspect is it also goes into our education. The rate at which our remittances contribute to educational development in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized, because if most of these monies are not coming in, you would find that many families will not be able to afford the kind of education they are able to afford at this point in time. Then the multiplier effect means that a lot of schools may close down. A lot of teachers might not have jobs to do. Then when we go into the health sector, it also has similar implications. In most cases, even in situations where you have, free healthcare services and whatever, people still buy drugs. And you would understand that if people don't have such amount of money to go into, to buy drugs in pharmaceutical chemists and the rest, it means a lot of pharmacy shops will close down.
Like the Philippines model.
Yes.
Where you travel to Dubai, you travel to the UK. They export skills.
Yes.
And returns, they have these remittances.
Yes.
And I see Nigeria, through the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, is bringing an initiative like, is it the NATEP,
yes,
saying, okay, let's export these skills.
Yes.
Let's have organized sector, not just from the government angle, but also private sector, and private individuals, making this connection. So like, okay, these remittances don't just come to families, but also some organized economic groups.
That has been an area we've been advocating for a very long time, but it has been in the works for also a very long time. If you go back and look at our policies, the National Migration Policy 2014 actually captured that. It is a way of making it a deliberate government initiative by developing skills that are going to be useful abroad. And by that, it means that part of government that does that also has control over the skill export, and as well as the remittance inflows that follows it. And we have advocated that even as a way of stemming the tide of irregular migration, of course, the popular Japa phenomenon, we believe that if the government is going to take deliberate actions and implement deliberate policies by ensuring that there is a kind of a platform where skills and talents that would be useful abroad can be harnessed and then properly channeled to areas of need. In that way, government can be able to take advantage and take control of the way and manner you manage your diaspora. It's not too late, really, but the thing is that probably that wasn't actually an area of interest for a lot of us as a nation until now. The Nigerian economic mindset needs to be kind of reconfigured to focus on developing the human capital potential of the country. That way, every sector of the economy is going to benefit from the development of that human capital sector. We need to accept certain facts that opportunities may not be as available compared to the huge human potentials that we have. As a matter of fact, we are even going into a more dire situation. The IOM predicts that the Nigerian population is going to grow to 400 million by the year 2050. And as we speak, our employment potential capacity is actually thinning out. We've already overpopulated the government sector. We are about to kind of unbundle and explore the private sector. That too will thin out. So we will have a lot of human capital that may be redundant if we don't really prepare them into the future.
Okay,
What are we going to do with them by 2050?
And I know one key area that the Commission has consistently pushed for is for experts, that's Nigerians in diaspora now, to come back and invest home.
Yes.
More like empower in different aspects of skills. And technology is one of it.
Yes.
If we look at other countries around the world who are reaping from remittances, India is leading with 125 billion, followed by Mexico, 67. That's a lot. So how is the Commission engaging these Nigerians in diaspora to return back the services?
You see, even at the figures we have now, the $25 billion as remittances, a lot of us believe that the actual remittance inflow is much higher.
That's just an estimate.
Yes, but there's a reason why ours is different from what's obtained in India and what's obtained in Mexico and maybe Egypt. It's because we have a lot of irregular platforms, channels, and that is the reason why the cost of remittance, which is a major challenge, is one of the major barriers to our actual remittance figures. And the cost is determined by the availability and the accessibility of channels. We still are lacking with the basic infrastructure that can enable us have seamless remittances from most parts of the world. You will be surprised that if you take a look at the chart of the remittance inflow into the country, we are always kind of left with the top three. America, the UK, the Canada.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? We are still largely talking about Western economy kind of remittance inflows. We still yet to capture a lot of Eastern-backed or rather Eastern economy-based inflows. We're having challenges with countries that are largely non-English speaking or non-Western based. Of course, at a point in time, the figures coming out from Saudi Arabia are showing about 1.5 million Nigerians in Saudi Arabia, a lot of them in the oil and gas and medicine sectors. And up till this moment, it's a challenge for you to remit funds from places like Saudi Arabia and many other eastern parts of the world.
But is the Commission engaging these
yes.
Nigerians?
Now that is the issue. It's not them. It's the infrastructure. Let's still also understand that.
to come bridge some of these infrastructural gaps.
So what we are engaging, what the Commission is engaging is the central bank. Now this is where we are today. From the engagement with the Commission and the central bank has expanded the platforms and the channels and the net for remittance inflows. So it has increased the licenses for IMTOs. It has opened up some collaborative spaces. It means some Nigerian bank can be able to collaborate with some other banks in some part of the world so that they can have seamless transfer processes. So it clearly means that our financial system also needs to be globalized. You will be surprised that probably a country like Togo, somewhere in Congo here, we're close. And ordinarily, by your mindset, if I send money, it just flies into the border so easily, which means it should be cheaper than sending money from US or UK or Germany. But in fact, it's more expensive because it needs to go around the world before it comes. So these are the challenges of channels that we are talking about. The central bank has been looking at it and is trying its best because, of course, we also need to understand that you can't just open up at once because of the risks also that are involved, inherent with such issues. So in most cases, you have to go bilateral, one-on-one with certain countries for you to have that seamless financial inflow relationships so that you can now open up the spaces. And even at that, another major challenge is accessibility across both ends. If, for example, you have established relationship with a place like Germany, it depends on where you are in Germany and what kind of access you have. If it means you have to come to the capital for you to do such businesses, you see, it still has some challenges. But on the whole, these are the areas we are looking at. Nigerians are very, one of the most interesting thing about Nigerians is they are very, apart from being communal, they are also very much connected with the home country. Yeah. Like I said, if actually we can capture every bit of penny that comes into Nigeria, we will be there close to India or wherever. Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier on, the P2P model, which is the primary model of these remittances. We've had families in time past, it's still happening today, where someone works so hard out there, gets to save a lot of money, send back home to family for some investment. At the end of the day, that investment doesn't get to happen, or some just get to fizzle out. There is this distrust that has come in. What is the Commission doing to ensure that such investments are formalized?
I think that's the first gap the Commission came in to cover by immediately establishing a desk with the EFCC, first of all, because previously there was no redress, or rather a proper redress mechanism in place to even check some of these excesses. As we speak with you, there are a lot of cases that have been handled by that desk, and a lot of successes have been recorded. But most importantly is to formalize the channels. Now, most of these funds or investments usually go into housing, and that's the reason why the concept of the diaspora housing is now, being established by the Nigerian Diaspora Commission in collaboration with other housing agencies in the country, the Federal Mortgage Bank on the issue of diaspora mortgage, the Federal Housing Authority on the issue of diaspora housing, and even the main Ministry of Housing itself. As we speak with you, one of the first batch of about 74 beneficiaries of of the National Housing Program have just been approved for members of the diaspora who actually applied and have gotten. So that way, and then of course we are also collaborating with a lot of private sector based developers who establish a particular regular framework where people can be able to invest through such platforms, and then also ensure that what they pay is what they get. So that way it takes off, because all we are trying to do is to take away the third party, is to ensure that the relationship between the diaspora and the service provider is seamless and direct. And in that situation, somebody can be held responsible. And that is what we are trying to do. In most cases, our family members, sometimes some people can actually try to take it up. But in most cases, as you know very well, in the kind of cultural setting that we find ourselves in, it's very difficult to come and start chasing family members around for misappropriating what you've actually intended for. And somebody can actually give you some very serious reasons, no matter how flimsy they look. So, but the most important thing is to take away the third parties, those who are actually just facilitators, and ensure that service providers have seamless relationship with those who are seeking service in the diaspora.
Okay, and part of that initiative, aside the diaspora housing mortgage scheme, I'm glad you're mentioning that they're taking advantage of that.
No.
There's also prospective issuance of diaspora bonds.
Yes.
And of course, and the Diaspora Trust Fund, are they taking advantage of those aspects?
They are more than eager.
Okay.
We have a lot of, in the case of the diaspora housing, I think as we speak, about 5,000 have already registered interest on the various platforms. We have just opened the diaspora investment platform at the Commission And I can tell you that, interests are trickling in. But of course, you will understand that the last diaspora bond, which was issued in 2017, which was dollar-denominated Eurobond at $300 million, was subscribed in no time. In fact, it was one of the most oversubscribed bonds.
What is this bond and the money is gotten from the Diaspora Trust Fund? Where is it channeled to?
Now, actually, it's supposed to be a federal government bond.
Okay.
Now, government has options to seek for financing. It either goes to borrow, or it raises other sources of fund. And then, of course, bond, whether local bonds or foreign bonds, are also another source for government financing. These are monies that you give to the government of the country. And the government now promises to pay you after a certain period of time.
With a reasonable interest.
With reasonable interest or profit as it may be. So these are monies that are given to the government. So the government decides what to do with it. But even as we speak, what we are now advocating for is to make the bonds more interesting and to get the diaspora more excited, is to channel these bonds to particular projects.
Investments.
Yes, of course. But it is expected that every bond that you collect should be a yielding bond.
Yes.
So that on its own, it can be sustainable. So in the case of diaspora bonds also, we are now advocating that, okay, we can decide that, okay, we want to establish a port that can be built specifically with a particular diaspora, just like the Sukuk bonds that you see some highways already established.
Okay.
Now, likewise, you can do a railway with a diaspora bond. And so what it does is that there is a sentimental attachment to that. You make people feel that sense of importance that actually is part of my money that was used to establish this.
Yes.
And now you create more sense of pride. You develop more sense of patriotism.
And commitment to that.
And commitment, of course.
All right, we have to take a break. On a Remittances, we'll pick up with this conversation. Let's go on a break.
What are we doing as a nation to, first of all, settle our teeming populace, especially the
NTA's political package with a third eye on the nation's political scene? I'm Fisa Ogunfuyi. Welcome.
You have to be very careful giving space to people who are obviously sponsored to further the agenda of some other groups.
There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions in a closed door sessions. Some of these issues, some of the problems bedeviling of their.
In fact, between June 1st and July 17, 19-point-something billion has left the coffers of the NDDC.
I can say my constituency, they need everything because we don't have anything.
A method for digital literacy is a bot that you can use, you can interact to learn more about digital literacy.
Hello, it's our pleasure to have you join us on platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele.
What is the yardstick for measuring everybody's moral integrity? It's critical at this point in time.
How daunting has that been for the Institute in getting them abreast with all the legislative procedures?
The fact remains that one training workshop is not enough.
Thank you so much for staying with us. The conversation is Diaspora, Remittances and Investments for Economic Growth on our Remittances, and I'm sure Benny had a follow-up question to that. Benny.
Okay, Honorable Tarab, you actually recognize the resource base of Nigeria, talking about the human capital and the need to prepare this skill set of this huge population to take advantage of their need, possibly in the future, of Western economies, more so that what we are going to be having in abundance, they are going to be lacking. What are we doing? Are we doing it all alone? Is there a collaboration with the necessary stakeholders to ensure that this opportunity that we are seeing today and it's growing by the day, that we take advantage of it? It shouldn't be that when we get there, we say we should have done this planning way back.
I think that is the essence of what we are discussing now. It's about awareness. And we don't know who we are making aware as we speak. It may not be current policymakers or implementers. It could be someone who is somewhere in the lock and expecting someday to be at the helm of affairs. But I believe everybody is listening. I believe policymakers are listening. I believe our lawmakers are also listening. And, but we need to continue the advocacy for us to understand where we are coming from and where we are going to. We have to also appreciate our realities. So, you know, sometimes we, once in a while, try to play the ostrich, expecting that we should be something that we really are not. It's time to be pragmatic, to be realistic with what we have on ground and how to make the best use of it. If you have other lofty ideas, of course, making us what we should be in some other alternative ways, fine. But I think the reality of the matter still remains that we are a very populous, but most importantly, a potentially high-skilled nation. And we need to be deliberate about harnessing our human capital potentials. It's not necessarily that we must have need for them, but let's also understand that there is need for them across the world. And empowering every individual Nigerian to be able to provide his or her service across the world will have very positive multiplier effects on the economy of the nation. Of course, we also need to appreciate, also have to appreciate the fact that because we run a citizenship that provides for dual citizenship, we may not have enforceable policies or rules as it may be, as is the case of India, China, and some other countries. Sorry
to hold your thoughts on that. I just read a few days ago that Senegal is telling its diaspora, you must open an account number back home and send your savings.
You know, in countries where they have single citizenship, you must even have an exit visa. The implication of that is that before you leave the country, you have to go to the Interior Ministry to give you a visa to leave the country, apart from having the visa for you to be accepted in the country of origin, no, rather country of where you're heading to. So, but these are some of our peculiar situations. But the what we need to do is to take advantage of them, is to look at them critically and see how it works best for us. And there are a lot of advantages to that. That's the reason why today you have some Nigerians in some high political positions across the world, and they are still bearing their Nigerian citizenship with them.
But Honorable Terab, you are head of innovation, technology with the Commission, and you've been hitting on human capital development. Now, the present administration is focusing on part of its initiative, you know, or projects being done is on promoting digital skills for young people. And I have seen subsequently the Commission engage in partners, international partners, to come and invest in some of these areas. Is there a structured mechanism, rather, in that direction? Especially, you know, to bridge that gap for digitalization.
Of course. You see, one of the major pitches we have during our Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit are usually IT-based.
Okay.
And by that alone, I can tell you that a lot of IT-based startups have received funding, are currently receiving mentorship, and some Nigerians in the diaspora are actually now contributing their time, their services to some of these startups. So, in essence, what is required is for us to expand that and to appreciate it across the country. What we are now saying is that going forward, we now want to channel that on a state-by-state basis. Let us have such startups, such ideas in every state. The interesting part of it is that as a commission, the moment we came in, and of course, with the help of the National Diaspora Policy, is to establish state focal point offices. They are subnationals, they are independent, they are not part of the commission, but they drive the same mandate with the commission. And of course, we ensure that such offices are at cabinet levels. So which means a state diaspora focal point officer should be either at the level of the state as a special advisor to the governor, or senior special assistant, or a commissioner. So which means they have direct access to the governor, and they can be able to implement policies at that level. And
well,
so
is the commission doing effective monitoring and evaluation?
Yes, of course, we do. We meet with them regularly, and the interest is growing. We allow states to grow at their own pace. As we speak with you, a state like Abia has already established its own commission. 2 or 3 states are already in the pipeline. Lagos is one of them. Some states have upgraded their special advisor status to honorable commissioners. So you can see that there is a, and of course, you can see the enthusiasm also coming out of states with their investment programs, or what do you call it, investment corporations and investment setups, where they are now targeting their own diaspora to come and invest in their health sector, in their educational sector. That's what we've achieved with the last Diaspora Merit Awards. So once we identify a diasporan who is contributing positively to where he or she is and to the country, states governments now come and take over them and then try to own them up, because they too want to see them replicating such contributions in their respective states. And that way, it means we are localizing the diaspora initiative. And that is where it is very, very important, because the concept of diaspora needs to be ingrained in us, that we are partners in progress. But luckily and interestingly, we have diasporans who are already coming in, taking up a lot of responsibilities, including politics. We now have about, I think, 2 or 3 governors who have come from the diaspora directly. The current governor of Nasarawa State is one of them. The former governor of Kebbi State is one of them. The former governor of Abia State. So you can now see that we are integrating as against what used to be. So that's the reason why we believe that the diaspora needs to be encouraged at this point in time. But what is interesting is that there were some few services that are required for them to undertake such open heart surgeries, which were not readily available. And they undertook to offer some training, sharpen some few people that are here, and eventually got such surgeries done successfully. So, but what they've left behind now is the skill set they've brought. They've transferred, including the technology. And they've left it behind now here in National Hospital and in some other places for them to continue to use that. So, but you see, these are personal efforts by the engagement of the Commission with them. What we now want is a deliberate effort, that the government itself should create a specific policy at targeting these individuals, whether during their breaks or at any time they feel they can provide services.
But Honorable Terab, the Commission has been in existence for quite some time now.
We are just 5 years old.
Okay, well, 5 years.
5 is still huge.
5 years is still a lot of time.
Yes.
What has hindered that policy formulation over
No,
time?
what we need the buy-in. You see, you will not appreciate where we are until you kind of are looking at it from our own angle. The reason why we say that is because the advocacy for the understanding of the concept of the diaspora, we are starting it all at once. We are educating not only the general public, but including government organs. Almost everybody is at the same level as we speak. So you need to get everybody involved. I'm trying to be very cautious, but you need to understand that before now, the concept of diaspora is seen very, very largely from a negative perspective. Those who are back home here feel members of the diaspora are those who left them behind for greener pastures and probably are not interested in the development of the country. Those who are over there also feel as if the country was not kind to them, and most of them have to leave because they couldn't find their way. What the Commission has been able to do, or is trying to do, and it must do, is to bridge that gap, is to bring that understanding that we are partners in progress, that we are not adversaries to each other. And it's very, very key. And that's the reason why, if you've been following the issue of diaspora voting in the National Assembly, and the rest, these are the kind of arguments that continue to resonate. But I can tell you that in the last 4 and 5 years, it's coming down. There is an appreciation, even at the political level. And that's why I'm saying that state governors are now reaching out, wanting to look for these people to help them contribute to the development of their states, and of course, by extension, to the development of the country. So that is at one level. But what is most important now is for us to have drives across MDAs. Because what we are facilitators. What we what we do is to encourage government agencies to procure their services by taking advantage of our diaspora community. The American, the Association of Nigerian Physicians in America, AMPA, is one of the largest and strongest single-bodied group of doctors anywhere in the world. There are 5,000 physicians strong.
Wow.
They are coming in next year. And this is the effort of the Commission.
Aside that, we also have strong coalitions across the world, Nigerians and diaspora in different countries that have formed a group, you know. How is the Commission leveraging on that advantage? What are they giving back?
What we are now doing, like I said, is engagement.
Okay.
And the engagement, as we said, is bridge building. Trying to make everybody, especially those in the diaspora,
before now, there was no recognition of that.
That is the issue.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So now, you are, one, recognizing them, two, appreciating their efforts, like what happened during the Ukraine crisis. Nigerians in the diaspora who are in Europe came together and supported the Nigerian government and its embassies around Ukraine to help to evacuate Nigerians in Ukraine. Even in the recent case in Sudan, we have similar cases where Nigerians in Egypt and in other places around Sudan put their resources together to support government efforts. So you can now see that such solidarity is coming out. It's not that it was not there before, but you know, it's different when you do something and get appreciated by the homeland. Yeah. And of course, now you are mentioned, and some of them have just received merit awards because of such efforts.
During the World Diaspora Day.
During the World Diaspora Day. So you see, this is the way to go. And the merit awards is the second in its in its sequel. So it means continuously people will now start to work to strive to be identified, to be recognized. It's not about money. In most cases, it's the recognition, it's the appreciation that most of these people, we have some of the best and brightest around the world.
Yes.
For everyone diasporan or one Nigerian case of negativity you hear, I can assure you there are 1,000 more there that are doing excellent and great job across the world.
More like a rider to that. Before now, years before now, there are certain states, certain parts of this country where in families, if you don't have somebody in diaspora, you have not arrived.
Yes.
You are not a member of community. So that encourages that engagement.
Yes.
Okay, you need to find a way to Europe. You need to find, let's get these remittances. But now it's not just to a particular part. Virtually every family around the country wants to have a diaspora. How are we leveraging on that?
Two things.
Let it not be that the expectations are too much.
Two things.
Again, is there a possibility of a register of Nigerians in diaspora?
Yes, as we speak with you, we have a portal.
Okay.
Where Nigerians in the diaspora register. You understand what I'm saying? Now, but that's not what is important here, and what we need to take from the context of where you're coming from, is that we need to understand that demographics have shifted and are continuously changing. One of the most important things is that the world has become a global village. There is huge labor mobility potentials around the world. For the first time, somebody in the US or in Germany can actually spot you and see that you fit in to his or her labor need and will wish to have you. You understand what I'm saying? And then also, on the other hand, migration is a human right. People have the freedom of choice to migrate to where they want to, so long as it is legal and it is regular. And of course, you might also say that probably there is the ease of mind, because, you know, perception is everything.
Yeah.
Previously, there are barriers for people to feel we need to move from here to other places. For every case of migration, we always look at two major issues: the push factor and the pull factor. So these two are also growing on both sides of the divide. There are reasons why people feel they need to move to other climes. And there are reasons why other climes feel they need to attract
That's the push factor,
people,
pull factor.
the pull factor from other climes. So these things continue to compete with each other. As we speak with you, we are also having a large influx of other nationalities coming into Nigeria. I don't know if you have noticed that.
Sure. Okay, Honorable
You
Terra,
understand?
we're gradually winding down. I
right.
just want to hear your final thoughts, because I know the chairman of the NIDCOM, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, has consistently, you know, pushed for diasporans, you know, to develop that strong partnership, you know, so that their valuable potential can be recognized both home and abroad, you know, and strengthen partnerships at both ends. What's your message, you know, and what are the expectations for the future?
Nigeria is a diaspora nation. Let's start with that. From time immemorial, one of the largest members of the African American community are Nigerians by by blood, or rather by roots. And continuously, Nigerians are one of the most resilient set of people, and they are one of the people that can easily and flexibly fit into other parts of the world. And that's the reason why there's a popular saying in our place, in the commission, that wherever you go to, in any part of the world, and you don't see a Nigerian there, you leave. Because, of course, because clearly it tells you that...
There's something wrong with that place.
Of course, you understand. Because there is no part of Nigeria, there's no part of this world that you won't find in Nigeria. Actually, it's very difficult. Recently, during the last Ramadan, we heard of some Nigerians in Siberia, and they are trying to find their way to break their fast and take their fast, because over there, you are almost having, at that time, you don't have sunlight and sunset. So,
you wouldn't know the time.
So this is the issue. But what we are now trying to say, first of all, let me also use this medium to commend the effort of the Honorable Chairman, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa. Actually, the commitment, the passion that she puts to that. Probably this is an NTA thing. Maybe you guys need to let us know into it. But actually, it's outstanding. It's a 24-hour job, and it's so personal. And I think that is what has brought us where we are today, because it's largely an effort, though combined, but of course with the push of her leadership. But most importantly, we want all Nigerians to appreciate the concept of diaspora. We want all Nigerians across the board to understand that diasporans are partners in progress.
All right.
The establishment of NITCOM is established to engage diaspora for national development.
Honorable Terab, we don't
And
have
I think
time
that
again.
needs to be appreciated.
I know you're also passionate about what you do. Thank you very much, Honorable Abdurrahman Abba Terab. He's the head, when you're talking technology, transfer, innovation, and investment for the Nigerian and Diaspora Commission. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work. We're commending the Commission also for the good work they're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Benny Adams, our business correspondent, when you're talking numbers and money, that's the man. Thank you so much, Benny.
It's a pleasure.
All right, we've been discussing diaspora, remittances, and investments for economic growth. You know what they always say, there's no place like home. So when you go there, think of home so you can give back to where you're coming from. That's Platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele.